Most of us have experienced it, a persistent, nagging intuition that the world presented to us is somehow incomplete. We go through the motions, yet the rigid societal expectations we navigate every day feel less like a natural existence and more like forced conditioning. Ancient traditions had a specific term for this feeling. They called it Maya. The concept that the material world our physical senses capture represents less than 1% of total reality. The rest is hidden from view. Think of human beings as a room full of different electrical appliances. We are all built in different shapes, with wildly different intents and purposes. But the moment we are turned on, we are all powered by the exact same underlying electrical current. That common source is a singular consciousness, expressing itself through everything in existence. It is an understanding shared by ancient traditions like Kashmir Shaivism and verified by modern quantum physics, which suggests our physical world arises entirely from one underlying invisible field of energy. When we focus only on the 1% of reality our senses can see, we begin to mistake the appliance for the power source. We perceive ourselves as separate and isolated, but this sense of disconnection is an artificial byproduct of our limited perspective, a layer of mental programming that obscures our inherent unity. To break that programming, we can look to an ancient blueprint, the story of a boy named Bhakta Prahlada. Prahlada possessed a deep, unbroken spiritual intuition, yet by divine design, he was born into a family that embodied the absolute polar opposite of his nature. He was raised in a brutal system. Material possession was paramount. Absolute obedience to authority was mandatory. There was no room for spiritual inquiry, only forced compliance. Prahlada's environment represents the extreme edge of a common human experience, the friction of being a seeker in a world built for the ego. His struggle to maintain his inner light against a regime that demanded total materialistic compliance serves as a mirror for anyone trying to remain authentic under the weight of modern social conditioning. The architect of Prahlada's nightmare was his own father, Hiranyakashipu. He was an authoritarian tyrant who completely prohibited spiritual worship, going so far as to demand that society worship him as God. Hiranyakashipu is a literal embodiment of the unchecked human ego. The ego cannot generate its own light. It operates as a vampiric force, surviving exclusively by feeding on the energy, obedience, and fear of others. We often assume this kind of manipulation only comes from distant enemies, but the painful reality is that the densest programming usually comes from our closest circles, friends, family, and society. They aren't inherently evil. They are simply trapped by their own unchecked egos. Worldly relationships built on that ego are finite and fragile. The cycle of manipulation only breaks when we completely surrender our need for earthly approval and lean fully into our eternal connection with the divine source. Despite enduring constant torture and discrimination, Prahlada fully surrendered to his intuition. He entirely rejected the rigid logic of his father's authoritarian reality. He understood the central theological claim of the ancient texts. Because cosmic consciousness is everywhere, the divine can manifest from anything, at any moment. When his father demanded to know if God was in the architecture of the throne room, the absolute impossible happened. Lord Narasimha, an avatar of the divine, erupted directly from a lifeless stone pillar. The infinite, primal cosmic reality clashed directly with the fragile human ego. The tyrant who believed his material power made him untouchable was immediately destroyed. While ancient esoteric traditions use complex rituals to summon power, Narasimha's sudden arrival demonstrates something much simpler. When your realization is deep enough, manifestation is merely a physical confirmation of a truth that is already there. When the divine decides to act through you, earthly logic breaks down. Things that make you feel entirely insignificant suddenly shift, and the impossible becomes an overwhelming, undeniable reality. So, how do we practically channel the fierce energy of Lord Narasimha in our daily lives? Modern spirituality often assumes that being peaceful and right is enough. But passivity offers zero protection against individuals who are intoxicated by their own lust and ego. Real protection requires a precise philosophical balance. We have to integrate Shastra, scriptural wisdom and deep knowledge, with Shastra, which translates to applied power or weaponry. The intense primal power of human emotion shouldn't be suppressed into polite submission. It must be actively aimed and directed as a powerful tool for the greater good. To enact genuine change in our immediate reality, we must forge ourselves into highly compatible vessels, minds and bodies capable of holding both immense divine peace and absolute unyielding strength. When you clarify your intent and start holding that kind of power, narrow-minded forces will inevitably feel threatened. They will attempt to feed on or extinguish your light. But by aligning yourself with the central cosmic consciousness, you are granted absolute immediate protection. The divine shields you from battles you cannot even perceive, so be physically and spiritually strong. Perform your daily duties with total detachment from the outcome, and listen strictly to your inner calling, rather than the noise of society. By refusing the dense programming of the matrix and balancing your wisdom with your strength, you clear the way for the unshakable truth. When the time is right, you will realize the Narasimha within.